It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I am Kevin Keatsman with you leading up to the Vince Show at 11 o'clock. We got a big show lined up today. It is Red Friday, kickoff 2025 to the Kansas City Chiefs season as they play the Los Angeles Chargers tonight in Brazil. We'll address that coming up in about 30 minutes in the back half of the program, as we're very excited to have the new Chiefs season starting, and football is in the air. We've got the high school game of the week tonight right here on KCMO Talk Radio with Blue Valley West and St. Thomas Aquinas. Chris Kamler has that call. Mark Van Sickle's got his all-point spread shows lined up for the weekend. The Pick'em Show, the College Pick'em Show, and then, of course, the Sunday Sharps. We've got all the good stuff lined up. It is football season, and we will treat that properly coming up in about 30 minutes. But we begin to, and we'll also have Pete is going to be on with Harris Faulkner on Fox News, maybe in about 40 minutes or so. And when that happens, we'll air it live for you right here so you can hear them, Harris and Pete together. That'll be kind of fun. We start with the greatest troll yet by Donald Trump. And I don't know how he does this. We're 8 months in. I don't know where these things come from. My hunch is that Stephen Miller is behind a lot of this, because I think he's brilliant, but not really a politician. So he thinks maybe more like you and I think, and doesn't have to think about being public or political or proper or any of those things. And he just keeps coming up with the greatest ideas that we've never thought of. And they just keep happening. Sometimes they're simple and fun, like the Gulf of America, or let's go get Greenland. You know, some of these things that Trump comes up with. And sometimes they're just so spectacular in their completeness of what they're trying to accomplish that you're stunned that you haven't thought of it before. And it's very simple. We know what the Democrats have done for the better part of 20 years now. They have used words against American citizens. They've told you what you can say, what you can't say, what's proper, what's not proper. You can't do this, you can't do that. Almost slipped. I was getting out of the shower yesterday when Mayor Q was on with Pete and referred to the Kansas-Missouri football game as the border war. It's always going to be the border war to me. There's historical significance. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because they took that name away from KUMU's rivalry for a long time, and now everybody's like, to hell with it. We're calling this thing the border war again. So what comes around goes around, and what Trump is doing is, well, he's given the Saul Alinsky treatment to the Democrats. And the latest, I promise you, I decided yesterday this was going to be the lead on the show today. And I don't want to get deep into the topic. I want to talk about what it means that this story is coming up. But it's exactly what Harris is going to be talking to Pete about, apparently, on Fox News. And that is the Trump administration, the Department of Justice, trying to find a way to make it illegal for transgenders to buy guns because they have mental health issues. This is the most fantastic Trump topic ever. Whether it is implemented or not doesn't really matter. The Democrats are going to go crazy. And when they go crazy, they can't talk about this one. Because if they start talking about it, now they're arguing for gun rights. He's literally put them in a position where if they want to come down on the Department of Justice or an executive order or whatever they're going to try to do, Trump's going to declare that transgender people have a mental illness, therefore should not be allowed to buy guns in America. He's going to put the Democrats in a position where they either shut up, sit down, and take it, or they argue back, no, you can't take gun rights away from people. I mean, this is the greatest Trump issue ever. It took 8 months. I don't think he came up with it, folks. He gets all the credit, and he should, because the commander-in-chief has to be willing to go do bold things. And this is not a giant, huge issue for a lot of people in this country. But what it does for the Republican Party, what it does for Americans, is he just continually finds a way to take a canvas and keep painting pictures of how idiotic Democrats are. Truly, that's all this is about. Now, they're going to back it up with statistics. If they come out and have a news conference, if he does one of those Oval Office things where he's signing an executive order, making it illegal, that'll never hold up in court. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a constitutional scholar. It doesn't sound to me like you can just single out transgenders and say you can't have guns. But if you back it up and can prove that there is mental illness involved with being transgender or gender dysphoria or whatever that may be, however they want to define it, now we've created an unbelievable situation because we have, I think I read last week that 9 of the last 11 mass shootings have been transgenders or people with gender dysphoria. It's a stunning number of people now that are getting guns and doing terrible things like they did in Minneapolis last week. So it's a real issue. Transgenders and gun violence are a thing, okay? It's the sweet spot in our culture if we want to talk about these horrific things that happen. It's mostly now transgenders executing these crimes. So they're going to bring it all to light. They're going to completely flip the script on the Democrats that, it's just, Bible-thumping MAGA, extreme right-wing KKK people that go in and shoot people. Well, they've had that narrative for 25 years, and most Americans have believed that. But not for very much longer. Because if they really push this and really push it hard, this is going to set Democrats off like nothing else. And they have nowhere to go and nowhere to hide on this issue. They can't come out and argue for gun rights. Can they? This is my favorite ever. This is the best troll, and that's all he does is troll. He blows up a boat with 11 narco-terrorists, and now they're saying he's a war criminal. They keep coming up with all these things about Trump. 2 days he didn't speak to the media. Oh, he's dead. These people are crazy. You got Joy Reid, who did a podcast. Joy Reid's on CNN or one of the channels. She doesn't think he got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. Here's what she said, quote, he's got these magical doctors who claim he was shot in the ear, but his ear, I guess, just grew back. He has a bandage on it 1 minute, no bandage the next. We can't get a medical record from this alleged assassination. He was supposed to be shot. We have nothing. We've got nothing. You can't even ask. The host of the podcast said, where are the investigative records? One day, he slapped his maxi pad on his ear. The next day, the ear is totally fine, she said. Joy Reid then said, we almost knew immediately everything about Kennedy's assassination. I know more about McKinley's assassination than I do about this attempt to assassinate Trump when he was a presidential candidate, Reid said. We're getting nothing. The mainstream media isn't demanding his medical records. Really, that's the investigation. It was live on CNN. You think it was fake. There's a dead dude in the stands from one of the bullets. Trump went down, got out one of those little Hollywood packets and smeared fake blood on his face and stood up and had those raw emotions because what? He's an Oscar-winning actor? I mean, if that was fake, it was the greatest fake news ever. And Trump is doing the wrong thing. He's better served in Hollywood as an actor than anything else. These people are crazy, the things that they come up with. And I just can't wait. I'm sorry. I'm going to pop some popcorn. I love football this time of year. But when they start talking about taking guns away from transgenders, I can't wait. I just can't wait to hear the things they're going to say. I need some Keith Olbermann in my life on transgenders not getting guns. I just want to know his position. Give them the guns. We got to get guns for the transgenders. Trump, you can't take guns from people.
Rosie O'Donnell's going to chime back in.
Rosie. I cannot wait for this one. To me, it is a serious issue because we have these mass shootings. We can't make light of those things. I am in no way an expert, but I do believe if you polled the American people and you said, does someone who has gender dysphoria or transgender, do they have a mental illness? I believe a high percentage of people would poll and say yes. And I think there would be another 10 or 20% of people that would say no, but they're lying when the pollster calls. I think this is another 80% issue. I think most people look at transgender folks and feel sorry for them and say there's something not quite right with them. They've got something in their head that is not normal, whatever. We know what God intended us to be. There's something there not normal, whether that's taught, whether it's part of depression, whether it comes from something else. I have no clue, but it isn't normal and it can't be pleasant. And I do feel bad for these people. I do, because a huge number of them go through surgeries and change their entire life, and then they get in their 30s and go, what the hell was I doing? What did I do? Because listen, I was about as messed up as they get from, age 12 to 22. I'm still pretty messed up. We all are. We all got issues. We're all humans. But if you think about those formative years, you don't know up from down. Your body, your hormones, you got crazy. It's nuts. It's hard being a teenager. And now we're going to take these kids and say, well, maybe you should be a different gender. Lop that penis off. Let's go get a surgery and let's change you. You'll be fine. And then you wake up one day and you're 32 and you're like, what the heck did I do with my life? Now, we've gone nuts on this stuff. We've gone nuts. And this is the best issue ever. I just can't wait to hear them talk about, we got to arm the transgenders. I want to see Shifty Schiff come out. Oh, you can't take guns away from trannies. I want to hear it. I just want to hear it. I want them to argue this. It's going to be so fantastic. As you can tell, I'm over-caffeinated and ready for the weekend. I love me some football. We're going to talk about that later on Uncanceled. Next, it's your phone calls, 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Having too much fun to get paid doing this. I'm your host, Kevin Keatsman. We're going straight to the phones here in a moment. The other big troll that's coming up, they're changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War, which is what it used to be called. Pete Hegseth already speaking out. He's going to be the Secretary of War. He says, hey, we don't just play defense. Did you see what we did to that narco boat? We play offense, too. This is the War Department. This is not the Defense Department. This is the War Department. I love it. All right, here's Bill in North Kansas City on KCMO. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing, brother?
Great, sir.
Two things real quick. I mean, on the transgender deal, I blame the parents for that. I don't care what anybody says. That's mental illness. You want to be gay, that's one thing, but if you're okay with your kids going to school and having them talk about that to your children, you got to take them kids out of school. If not, then that's on you. But on the other thing about him, Joy Reid saying, oh, he didn't get shot. You know what pisses me off when they talk about that? What about the two people that behind him that died?
Right.
They don't talk about that, though, do they? I guess they faked their death. I'll listen to your comments off air.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mentioned that a couple minutes ago. It'd be like, some people think we faked the moon landing. Well, I do ask the question, why have we not gone back to the moon, and why are we talking about doing it now like it's some big achievement? Which we do. I don't know. But this one, no. Come on. No. It's ridiculous. These people are unhinged, no question. Mark is in Brookfield on KCMO. Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Kevin?
Great, buddy. How are you?
Well, it's cold.
Oh, no, this isn't cold. Come on now. This is just a little football breeze blowing in.
Well, I had to put a vest on today. It's cold.
Okay. That's good living, man. You got a vest. It is. Vests are cool. They're fun. They're warm. It's nice.
But about the transgender stuff, on the question right below the one they got the Hunter Biden on about being a druggie, the one right above that said, are you under the care of a psychiatrist or psychologist or anything like that, or taking psychotropic drugs? So if you're a transgender, I'm pretty sure you'd probably have to be under the care of somebody, wouldn't you?
Yes, but if you're crazy, you're going to lie, so that's not a thing. Let me ask you this. I don't know enough about the form. Does it say, are you currently in therapy, or does it say, have you ever been on mental health medications or sought therapy?
Well, it's been a year since I filled one out. But
yeah. I'd be curious because I think there's a distinction.
You can pull the form right up.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of dogs you got, man?
Well, I got a lab and I got a Jack Russell, and I'm at my daughter's house in the yard, and she's got one of them teacup chihuahuas.
I was going to say, that sounds like Paris Hilton's dog.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, I'm going to let you go. I love dogs as much as the next guy, but I can't handle that screeching thing.
That was a lot.
What do you call it, a teacup chihuahua?
Yeah.
Yappity, yappity, yappity. Here is Steven on KCMO. Good morning, Steven.
Oh, Kevin, this is too much fun to be work, man. I tell you.
It's great.
I think what is happening, as you alluded to earlier, is that you could see the twinkle in their eye that Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance have got some sort of like weekly meeting, like barbecue and beer meeting going, and they've got a list. We'll find out in the books and magazine articles published in the future of what actually happened. They have their pulse on what drives the far left absolutely nuts, and they're slowly removing their will to fight.
Yeah.
Like in a football game in the third quarter when the players just start quitting.
Well, I mentioned on
Muriel
Tuesday, Stephen, you listen every day, so you probably remember this, but on Tuesday I said these protesters that we had in Kansas City about redistricting, they just looked sad and defeated. They're not even running their game anymore. They're just moping around.
And Muriel Bowser throws in with Trump and says, "Okay, we can have it until Christmas." They've got that. Even little things like Department of War drives them absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's gonna. I predict that's gonna cause more public relation problems, and then get them further sinking in the polls because of they can't force them. They're like a drunk at the bar at 2 a.m. They can't force themselves not to engage or not to fight with anybody, and that's where their polls keep going down and it keeps going south.
And I got to give you credit for bringing up J.D. Vance, because I give Stephen Miller a lot of credit on this show and on my podcast, but I don't probably give J.D. Vance enough credit. Did you see the social media post yesterday? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was in front of the Senate Finance Committee, of all things, just getting grilled over vaccine mandates, not over vaccines. Robert Kennedy Jr. has never said, he's anti-vax. He said he's anti the government mandating you force this into your child when you give birth to a child. That's two completely different things. This thing went off the rails yesterday. It was embarrassing. Our government is a sham from what I saw. And then J.D. Vance posted this on social media when it was over. And you're so right about J.D. Vance. He said, quote, "When I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think is, you all support off-label, untested, and irreversible hormonal therapies for children, mutilating our kids and enriching Big Pharma. You're full of SH blank blank, and everybody knows it." I think that this is a vice president using foul language now. I mean, Trump has just laid out a completely new set of rules for Republicans.
He's winning me over if he continues to kind of the vice president's kind of plotting the strategy here. I'm for Rubio. Rubio may get the nomination, but JD, we're in good hands. I think if he's maybe Trump is sort of teaching these guys how to do it. I don't know. Whatever they're doing, keep on doing it. It's just, it's like a good football coach. Whatever strategy we're doing, keep on. And I guarantee you, there's more on this list. I guarantee you, there's more ideas they've got. Like awesome. Genius, Department of War, absolute
Thank you, buddy.
Genius.
Awesome.
Chef's kiss.
Thank you. Great call as always. Now, in order to make that official, Congress has to pass that. But it doesn't matter. Just like Gulf of America, it's just going to get said over and over and over. Fenny is on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Fenny. How you doing today?
Hey, Kev. Just fine. How are you?
Fine. Thank you.
Hey, on the application for buying a firearm, all they got to do is put in that question, how do you self-identify? Trannies will jump on that box, and they're just right there.
And trip them up. I don't know
also,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just don't know if any of this is legal or not, but I don't really care. I just want it to be like public discourse for a week or two. I just think it'll be fantastic.
That's how you gather those statistics. That's right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Trollers will be trolling, and I just love the trolling.
You got it, man. Great call. Thank you, Fenny. I appreciate you very much. The phone was a little hard to hear there at the end. I apologize for that. But we appreciate everybody chiming in here. We love that part of Uncanceled, when you get to say what it is that you want to say. When we come back in just a couple of moments, we're going to give you a little brief synopsis of what we think this Chiefs season may look like. They play the Chargers tonight at 7 o'clock. It's on Channel 41 locally. And we will preview the season, talk some Chiefs, and get you on some football. Next on KCMO Talk Radio, this is Uncanceled. Are you ready for some football? The Chiefs play the Chargers tonight to open the 2025 Chiefs season. The NFL season got underway last night with the Eagles defeating the Dallas Cowboys. And wouldn't you know, those punky Eagles couldn't handle winning the Super Bowl before the first snap of the game. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter spit on Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback. Got ejected. I think he should be suspended. And I think the NFL Players Association should step up and say, we want this player suspended. One player spitting on another player, I would think that'd be a union issue, wouldn't it? The Eagles, it was the worst possible look. They just had this big celebration. They got their trophy. They're all singing Fly, Eagles, Fly. And dude comes out and spits face-to-face with Dak. He just spits on him. It was a stunning start to the NFL season. Mark Van Sickle with us to talk some football. What did you make of Spitgate?
Man, I was at the Royals game, so I was catching up on social media with all that, but that was absolutely crazy. Like, I don't know what that guy's thinking.
He's got to get suspended for at least a game, doesn't he?
Yeah, especially with the Chiefs playing him in week 2. He's got to be suspended for that game.
That would be great. Just immediately suspend him for next week's game here at Arrowhead Stadium. Be fantastic.
He did cause some ruckus in that Super Bowl, I will say. He's a good player, but he can't be spitting on people.
I saw much of the first half, but not the second half. We were at a concert last night. We went to the Uptown Theater, and I had not been there in years and years and years. There's been a lot of development around there, and it's pretty cool. They've got some new buildings and apartments and things like that, and that theater's just a classic old theater, and really enjoyed ourselves. Once the concert started for the second half of the game, I didn't see it. I saw that there was a lightning delay, and then I like this. I was on the over, 47.5. It's 21-20, I think, was the halftime score. And I'm like, this is a lock. That's 41 points. I just need a touchdown in the second half, and I've won. There was only a field goal in the second half. It was awful.
That was a bad beat.
It's a bad night for the NFL. It was a rough start. But you know what? That's what you get when you put the Eagles on first. Tonight, it's the Chiefs and the Chargers. These games are really interesting. The Chiefs are a 3-point favorite. The last 6 times they've met, the Chiefs have won all 6 games, but they've only covered that number twice. So they're 2-4 as basically a 3-point favorite against the Chargers. That's many of those games before Harbaugh got there. The Chargers were a tough out. Jim Harbaugh is 5-0 as a head coach in his season openers as a National Football League coach. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, as you know, are like the kings of September. Something's got to give here tonight. It seems to me like this is too much on the line for a first game of the year. This seems like if this were December, it could be the entire season. Do you like having a game like this up front, or do you think the NFL should maybe not do this, Mark?
I kind of like the division games at the beginning. I know there's a few of them sprinkled in around the league this opening weekend, but having one on the Friday night, I don't know. I'm not sold on that.
The NFL believes it gives bad teams a better chance to knock off good teams early in the division and create more of a race later down the road. So an example of this would be we've watched the Bengals the last few years get off to terrible starts.
Yep.
They play division games early, they get behind, and they're digging out all season.
And they're playing the Browns this week.
Right. Yes. And they're a pretty big favorite, the Bengals are, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns beat the Bengals in week 1. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
I think the only lock on the board is Denver's going to win.
Yes. Huge favorite.
Tennessee's not good, and they're starting Cam Ward, the number 1 pick in the draft, and the statistics for a guy who was just drafted in his first NFL game starting at quarterback are awful. The winning percentage, I think, is less than 10%. So it looks like the Broncos have a great chance. The Chiefs game tonight, the Chargers are going to try to slow this down and not turn the ball over. They're going to try to run it. I don't think they're going to be able to run it particularly well because I don't think Steve Spagnuolo wants the Chargers to have any run game. But that's going to create opportunities for them to pass downfield. And Justin Herbert, a lot of people think he's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best quarterback in the NFL. He just doesn't have the hardware or the playoff wins to show it. His metrics are outstanding. It's a very difficult spot for Spagnuolo to be in. You're going to play against a team that's going to try to grind you, so you're going to have to stop the run, but you're daring them to pass, and it's not like you're sitting there with some rummy quarterback. They can throw the ball. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, they were really good against the run last year. I mean, even in the Super Bowl, they held Saquon when the Eagles should have been running the ball a lot with that big lead. They still held Saquon to around 50 yards, so hopefully they can carry that over.
The Chiefs' defense will be important tonight. I don't think this is some big shootout. I don't expect the Chiefs' new offense, which is supposedly going to feature more downfield passing this year. I don't think they just bust out tonight and put 48 points on the board, not against the Chargers, because I don't think they're going to have the ball a lot. I mean, the Chargers will probably win time of possession. I can promise you this. If the Chiefs win time of possession, they win this game tonight. But the Chargers are just going to try to, run the ball, shorten the game, keep it out of Mahomes' hand, and that's what they do. Now, the Chiefs obviously they're down at receiver a little bit in this game. So we know that coming in. Hollywood Brown, for the first time ever that I can remember, is actually healthy and playing for the Chiefs. Maybe that makes a big difference. He kind of has to fill the Rashee Rice role here, the yards after catch. He's the guy that you want to catch maybe a 7-yard out and turn it into a 16-yard play. They're looking downfield for Worthy. My concern with the Chiefs' offense this year is the running game. I think the Chiefs have fallen behind the rest of the NFL with their run game. I think we overvalue Pacheco and Hunt and the players that we have here. It's not that the Chiefs can't run the ball at all, but I would ask the question the last couple of years because the Chiefs really didn't introduce a lot of new stuff the last 2 years. Andy Reid's calling card has always been every year they come out and you're like, wow, we haven't seen that play before. We haven't seen that in the playbook before. We haven't seen that. But the last couple of years, I didn't see that creativity with the Chiefs. They would get 3rd and 1 and try to run the ball and come up short. And then on 4th and 1, they'd have to try to do something gadgety to get a first down because the running game hasn't been there. Are you concerned with the running game? And is there, the Chiefs had an all-world interior line the last few years. They should have been able to run the ball, and they really aren't particularly good at running the ball.
Yeah, they should be better at running the ball. What I'd like to see Andy Reid do, which he doesn't do it all the time, but start the game out with a play action, send Thornton deep, send Worthy deep. If it's not there, you can still throw it to Travis Kelce in the middle of the field, but just try to get him off guard right at the start, and then you can get the running game going after that.
Or just overthrow it 50 yards. If you don't see it, just heave it and throw it away. Okay, so I'm going to be the only person in Kansas City to say this, and a lot of you are going to cringe when I say this, but I actually believe this. And after watching Jalen Hurts last night rush for 2 touchdowns and watching him run the ball, knowing how Josh Allen has played in Buffalo, I was dead wrong about Josh Allen. I said his first couple of years, I said this isn't going to work because he's going to get hurt. You can't just keep running the ball. No, the NFL has adopted what college has done. There's very few quarterbacks that don't do something in the run game. Herbert's kind of one of them. He doesn't do much. He stands in there quite a bit. There's some. I would like to see, and this is far be it from me from criticizing a Hall of Fame NFL coach. I think they've gone too far protecting Patrick Mahomes. I would make it my mission once or twice a game to have a called Patrick Mahomes running play. I know there's 10 or 12 of them in the playbook. Why not use them? And I'm not talking about when it's 3rd and 4 and, you got to get the first down. I'm talking about things like, let's say the Chiefs in the second quarter are at midfield 1st and 10. They're not quite field goal range yet, but it's been hard to get to midfield. They've been grinding. It's taken 3 first downs. They've been grinding, but they got there. It doesn't look easy. How about on 1st down, you call some kind of a bootleg or something for Mahomes, and you trust your quarterback to get out into space and get some yards and slide and not get hit? I'm not talking about quarterback sneaks, up the gut, whatever, although a quarterback draw would probably work. They could block it beautifully, and I would think you could get 7, 8, 9 yards almost any time you try to do something like that. But if you do it there, let's say he springs it for 11 yards. Now you're in field goal range, okay? And you trick the defense because they never expect Mahomes to run, and they never defend Patrick Mahomes. But almost everybody the Chiefs play, not necessarily the Chargers tonight, but almost everybody they play, you got to think about the quarterback. We saw what Jalen Hurts did in the Super Bowl. We've seen what Josh Allen does. Lamar Jackson. I'm not the biggest fan of Lamar Jackson because I think he's just kind of a clutch time loser because he has to rely on his passing at that point, and that's not really his strength. But you got a game plan for that guy. There isn't a team in the NFL the last 5 years that have even thought for a second about Patrick Mahomes running the football. And there have to be plays in the playbook that if you call it, it will work every time. Every single time. And then you start as the season goes on to give teams something to think about with the offense. I only say this because I don't love the Chiefs' run game. And if this becomes part of the Chiefs' run game, you now maybe get just a linebacker staying a little bit closer. I think it opens up the downfield passing. And if that's the goal this year, the way to really open up the downfield passing is Mahomes has to be just a little bit of a threat himself to run the ball to keep the defenses more honest. Would you do it, Mark? Because almost every Chiefs fan I bring this up to says you're crazy. Don't risk Mahomes getting hurt. What say you?
I'm open to them running the quarterback sneak. Yep. I don't care that much. I mean, that was a freak injury. I don't think it's ever going to happen again. So I think that they're fine with running a quarterback sneak.
But not part of the run game.
Not part of the running. I think it's fine to call up a run play for Mahomes.
I do too.
I don't think there's a big problem with it. If
he won't do it.
4th and 1 and they need a yard, I say go for the quarterback sneak.
I think this is the way that Andy Reid, who's known for doing something different every year with his offense, I think that's the way to change the Chiefs' offense quickly, efficiently, and at some point you got to say Mahomes is the best veteran quarterback in the NFL. He's the champion of his era. We got to trust our guy to not get hurt. Trust him to slide. He's really good at this. He's good at getting to the marker. He's good at sliding. He's good at avoiding getting hit hard. He's very good at this. He's been in the game long enough that you can trust him to not get plowed over by some linebacker in the open field. That's all I'm saying. And the other thing is, if it's a deception play and he's rolling out a little bit or it's a bootleg type thing and it's a bust, all he's got to do is go down like a sack. Just go to the ground. You're the quarterback.
And if he's out of the pocket, he's still behind the line, you can throw it away.
You can throw it. There's so many things you can do that are unused in this offense. I'd like to see them move on that a little bit this season, but I'm not sure that they will. The other thing is teams are afraid to hit Patrick Mahomes. He's different than other quarterbacks. There's something in this league.
They get thrown flags a lot for that.
They do. I don't know if he's paying the other guys or they just like him. I don't know, but there's not a lot of cheap shots on him. Anything we ever think that happens to Mahomes that's somewhat dirty or cheap is what we'll just consider a late hit in the pocket. And most of those will get flags anyway. And you can't avoid that because your quarterback has to pass. If somebody hits you late, they hit you late. But I'd love to see him out there in the run game a little bit. I think this is going to be a terrific game tonight. I think we're looking at some sort of 23-19 game, something in there. I heard Roger Marshall last hour saying he thought it was going to be somewhere in there. That's kind of what the Chiefs and Chargers do. They don't get – if the game gets wild and high scoring, it will be the fourth quarter. I can't imagine anything early being wild. Can you?
Especially being in a foreign place,
Yeah.
literally. They're in Brazil. They're in a stadium that they've never played in before. So should be interesting. I like the Chiefs 27-20.
27-20 Chiefs. I think they beat the Chargers by that score a couple 3 years ago, didn't they? Maybe last year they won by that score. Oh. Max Crosby, I'm here all day. Yeah, right. Yeah, oh yeah. John's got the sign up. Yeah, he lets him know. He hits him in the pocket and lets him know that he's there. Exactly right. It's going to be fun tonight. I'm happy football season is here. We've also got high school football on KCMO Talk Radio tonight. The game of the week, Chris Kamler's got the call with a couple of high school students, one from St. Thomas Aquinas, one from Blue Valley West. They'll be in the booth with him calling the game. That'll be right here on KCMO Talk Radio. We're going to do that all season long. And as a note, I think it's interesting they're using high school broadcasters. Once upon a time, Jason Sudeikis was our field reporter as a student at Shawnee Mission West when I worked at Channel 4. We did a thing called Prep Cam, and we sent student journalists out to go shoot video, come in, edit it, produce it, write the copy for it, the whole deal. Jason Sudeikis, we did Prep Cam probably for 10 years. And all the different schools were involved and did this thing. It was really a neat program. We'd bring their whole radio and TV class down, and they'd get to come down and watch the 5 o'clock news. Then they'd go to their game and shoot it and come back later, and we'd edit it and do all that stuff. Certainly hundreds of students went through that program. Jason Sudeikis was the only one that ever wrote a letter of thanks. We should have known.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Like when he was 17 years old, we should have known. Okay, there's something special about this one. I don't specifically remember him being there. Todd Lebo does, our producer. But he remembers everything, and he's the guy that actually received the letter from Jason Sudeikis. So it's cool to involve the high school students in high school football any way you can, whether it's band or cheerleading or the pep club or broadcasting or a manager on the team or the water boy or whatever it is, man. When you can involve students at your high school and high school football, it brings community together like nothing else. And we are proud here at KCMO Talk Radio to start our first endeavor with high school football tonight at St. Thomas Aquinas and Blue Valley West at 7 o'clock. Okay. Now, Mark and I are doing something every week. We're giving you our lock of the week, our best play in against the line. We're 3-1 combined, right? The first 2 weeks, we're 3-1. We're going to have those for you next. We think we can help you make a buck or two. Stick around. Uncanceled continues. We are brought to you today by bestofferkc.com. As always, our friends at Best Offer KC are doing great things for great families in Kansas City. When they have something going on with their life where they got to sell their house fast, there's a lot of different reasons. You know what those reasons are. Some of them are very personal. Some of them can be dangerous. Some of them are professional. And some of them are health related. But when you need to move your house and you don't want to show it, you don't want to repair it, you don't want to fix it up. Sometimes you don't even want to clean it out. You just got to go. BestOfferKC.com understands your situation. They got big hearts and they're compassionate. They don't do things like have slogans that your house is ugly or this is a problem or whatever, make light of the situation. No, this is people that really need somebody who understands. And that's what Best Offer KC is. This is the compassionate team when it's time to sell and sell quickly. About 10% of houses sell off market in Kansas City without a realtor, without showings. BestOfferKC.com is your best shot at doing this the right way. Call 816-338-SOLD. That's 816-338-SOLD for BestOfferKC.com, helping you leave the hassle behind. Okay, I think we're going to head to Fox News as Pete Mundo is coming on with Harris Faulkner here any moment. We're just going to bag the commercial break at this point and join Fox News Live. Mike Emanuel is on doing a story about evaluating the options to prevent the pattern of violence we've seen from individuals with specific mental health disorders. Very interesting. Okay, you want to take it right now, or are we ready to go? Okay, he's finishing up his report, and then Pete is going to be on with Harris Faulkner. We're going to go live to Fox News.
Especially those deemed mentally unfit. So new debate is heating up. Should people diagnosed with gender dysphoria be banned from owning guns after several shootings involving transgender suspects? A sheriff from the Seattle area posed this question on X this week, quote, "Do you think it's time to ban trans people from owning guns?" The discussions at the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, we are told, are in their infancy. But one expert tells us this issue could face political challenges from the right and the left.
On the left, the civil liberties community would make a strenuous effort to block any effort to take gun rights away from the transgender community. On the right, gun rights groups have been working very considerably to try and expand gun rights, and I think they would have a big problem.
The National Rifle Association giving us exclusive reaction, quote, "NRA does not and will not support any policy proposals that implement sweeping gun bans that arbitrarily strip law-abiding citizens of their Second Amendment rights without due process." Harris?
Mike, thank you very much. Pete Mundo, Kansas City radio host, is here. And we don't have time to talk about the Chiefs, so we'll just text and tweet on that. Talk to me, if you will, about this issue coming into play and what your first reaction maybe is to knowing what's going on around the conversation around guns.
Well, 2 words, Harris: slippery slope. What if this were to be applied in a future Democrat DOJ world to, say, veterans with PTSD? Dare you go down the road of Christians, right? Well, I don't know. They might be mentally unwell, according to certain DOJ officials in a future administration. You start to go down that road, and it opens up a whole can of worms.
You know, it's interesting because Christians have already been targeted by the former FBI under Biden.
Don't give them another reason to.
Yeah, and parents, too. They were considered to be problematic, potential terrorist-type people. So I understand what you're saying. But when you, and I want to pop this up so people can see what part of the issue here is. The National Institute of Health released data in 2020 revealing 56% of transgender youths reported previous suicide attempts. 86% thought about suicide. 72% of transgender students experience persistent feelings of depression. So you're talking about perhaps a documented history. Does that change the game? Because we already have laws on the books that say something about that.
Well, you look at Minneapolis and you look at Minnesota in general, they have those red flag laws. They have some of those things that theoretically would catch somebody like what happened last week, and it didn't work. So the question is, do you open up this potential can of worms and go down this road knowing full well it could be abused against you in future administrations? Or do you say, what's the larger picture here? What are the bigger mental health issues that need to be addressed instead of trying to Band-Aid it? We're trying to Band-Aid a wound with this. And that's what just makes me nervous, because we all know one day somebody else is going to be in charge and they could point to this as a reason for what they're doing.
Yeah, when you say the word slippery slope, we are leading up to the beginning of the midterm season. Some would arguably say it's already started. And so you see this as problematic for Republicans. Your last quick thought on it, and we'll move forward.
I understand that we've got to address the issue, but at the same time, we don't want to jump to a conclusion, which happens all the time on the left side of the aisle, with an issue like this that's highly emotional.
All right, the new Democratic mayor of San Francisco spent part of the holiday.
All right, there's Pete Mundo with Harris Faulkner live on Fox News. He's in New York, been there all week for basically a convention, a broadcasting sort of convention. He's been there and did his show from the Fox News studios today. That was live with Pete Mundo, Harris Faulkner on Fox News, talking about the possibility of banning transgenders from owning guns. I think it's a giant troll. It may go nowhere. I don't know, but you can't sell guns to mentally ill people, and if that's what they're going to say is these folks are mentally ill, boy, Trump's got a winning issue right here. There's a lot of people that would agree with that, and there's a whole lot of Democrats that are not going to be able to be upset with Trump on this one and argue for guns for more people. All right, we'll take a break. We come back. Me and Mark will give you our lock-it-in predictions next on Uncanceled. Oh, Mundo had a great appearance on Fox News. We thought they were done. They just finished. They kept him on to talk about San Francisco and Mamdani and all kinds of stuff.
Crazy.
Look at the three of us schlubs sitting out here in the Kansas City studios. Pete's out hanging in New York with all the network folks. He was great, and he looked great. He bought that shirt yesterday?
Yeah.
Because he didn't know he was going to be on?
Yep.
That's fantastic. Those are the best things when things like that happen. That's awesome. Way to go, Pete. We're all real proud of you. All right, every Friday this season, Mark and myself are going to give you our biggest pick of the weekend. And generally speaking, this is going to be, okay, this is the best play on the board if you're going to bet one. That's the concept. I'm going to alter from that a little bit this week, but who goes first here, Mark? You want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
I'm taking Iowa State in the Cyhawk game. They're 2.5-point favorites at home over Iowa. Their offense looks great. Iowa's defense is pretty good, but not as good as previous year. So I'm taking Iowa State minus 2.5.
All right. I'm going to anger everybody. I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers +3.
Oh.
I think it's a 50-50 game, and I think if the Chiefs win, they win by 3. So I'm only looking at this as I don't think I can lose the bet. Not that it's some sort of a guaranteed winner, but I don't see the Chiefs winning by 4. It traditionally is not what they do in a game like this. So that's the one I'm going with. We're going to go with that. There it is. Take it for what it's worth. Chargers +3, Iowa State -2.5. Parlay them up. Let's go get them. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show is coming up next. You're on KCMO Talk Radio.